Kingdom Hearts series is one of my favorite video game series of all time. Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 are particularly near and dear to me and were an important part of my adolescent years. Chain of Memories and 358 Over 2 Days have two of my favorite video game stories of all time, and there is nothing quite like the darkness that they and Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance are willing to go to. I came to the Kingdom Hearts series as a Disney fan. It would be many years before I would play my first Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy VIII, although I didn't even finish that game. Today, I am both a die-hard Disney fan and a casual Final Fantasy fan, so I'm sure you can see how this series would appeal to me. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a reward to fans who have been around since the beginning. Fans who have followed the series wherever it has gone. It does not cop out and play up to mainstream fans like Pokemon is constantly obsessed with. Every single Kingdom Hearts game matters to Kingdom Hearts 3, and it feels really great tying all the pieces together. Unfortunately, as an actual game, Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of the weakest entries in the series. It is a solid game that will entertain you from start to finish, but like what Triforce Heroes and Four Sword Adventures are to the Legend of Zelda series, Kingdom Hearts 3 is a great game in a series of masterpieces. Please be warned. This review is more of a discussion of the ups and downs of Kingdom Hearts 3. From here on out, there will be spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3. I largely do not spoil any of the other games, but just keep in mind that this video is made for people who have played through the whole series and for people who are interested in the game but are not concerned about spoilers. Please note, also, that because Kingdom Hearts 3's soundtrack has not yet been released, I'm using music from other Kingdom Hearts games for this video. If Square Enix is associated with anything these days, it is high-budget spectacle. Conveniently, Kingdom Hearts is also well known for its visual flair, so right off the bat, let's talk about the graphics in Kingdom Hearts 3. This game has some amazing visual set pieces, like this. Or this. Or this. And how could we forget this? Unfortunately, on my PlayStation 4 Pro, which I bought specifically to play Kingdom Hearts 3, and boy am I glad that I did because I hear my regular PS4 would not have run it well, this game is full of cheap and lazy special effects. It is pretty stunningly bad, not just for a Kingdom Hearts game, but for a big-name Square Enix title in general. Look at this. And this. And definitely look at this. This isn't just bad animation, it's embarrassing animation. I also feel that the menus are lacking in character compared to previous games like Kingdom Hearts 2's, especially the journal, but that's a more minor nitpick. Like a fragmentary passage, this game uses Unreal Engine 4 as a graphical engine. This makes it only the second Kingdom Hearts game to not use the original Kingdom Hearts game's graphical engine. I love that original graphics engine, and I think the cutscenes in it look great on the PS2 and even good on the PS4 today. I didn't like the new graphics in a fragmentary passage, but I warmed up to them in Kingdom Hearts 3. It clearly helped make the worlds lusher than ever, and some cutscenes such as in Toy Box and Arendelle look like I'm watching an actual CGI Disney or Pixar film. However, as I said multiple times during my Let's Play, I do not think that Unreal Engine 4 was kind to many Disney characters. All of the Hercules characters, all of the Winnie the Pooh characters, and even Donald, look awful in this game. Some are downright ugly, like Pooh. How do you mess up Pooh? The Disney characters look a little better than they did in A Fragmentary Passage, but not by much. My personal favorite part of Kingdom Hearts is the music. Yeah, you all like Dearly Beloved, but I'm talking about the world music and the battle music. Some songs, such as Ari Chain of Memories' final Castle Oblivion song, or Kingdom Hearts 2's Underworld and Cavern of Remembrance songs, are among my favorite video game songs of all time. Like, I'm talking top 50 material. Every time I visit a new world in a Kingdom Hearts game, the thing I am most looking forward to is hearing what the world's music is like, and shortly after that, hearing what the world's battle music is like. Kingdom Hearts 3 has some amazing world music. My personal favorites are the new music for Mount Olympus, the music that plays in the brighter spots of the Kingdom of Corona, a lot of the music in Monstropolis, and I simply could not stop humming Yoko Shimomura's cover of You've Got a Friend in Me for days. With that said, however, I think overall Kingdom Hearts 3 has some of the weakest world music in the series. It is still great, but it just doesn't hit the highs and consistency that games like Kingdom Hearts 2, Birth by Sleep, and Dream Drop Distance hit again and again and again. And unfortunately, while those three games and Kingdom Hearts 1 had some amazing regular battle themes, Kingdom Hearts 3's regular enemy battle music is somewhat forgettable. It's good, but nothing special. There's no powerhouse like the Monstro battle music from Kingdom Hearts 1, or the Deep Space battle music from Birth by Sleep. The boss battle music in Kingdom Hearts 3 is, to me, where the soundtrack really disappoints. The Kingdom Hearts series is legendary for its boss battle themes. Every single boss battle theme, every single one of them, from Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, Chain of Memories, 358 over 2 days, and Birth by Sleep, is incredible and often breathtaking. Kingdom Hearts 2 in particular may have the best overall collection of boss themes of any video game ever. It is against that pedigree that Dream Drop Distance was made, and its boss themes were terrible. Absolutely terrible! Kingdom Hearts 3, fortunately, has better boss themes than Dream Drop Distance, but it is definitely still not up to series standards. During Kingdom Hearts 3's development, I was really concerned because Yoko Shimomura, the series' main composer, was the sole composer of 3 different games that released after Kingdom Hearts 3 was officially unveiled: Mario & Luigi Paper Jam, Final Fantasy XV, and A Fragmentary Passage. I was very disappointed by her Final Fantasy XV soundtrack, but Paper Jam and A Fragmentary Passage both had great scores, so I wasn't concerned about Shimomura losing her touch over the years or anything. My concern was that she had too much on her plate to really put her all into Kingdom Hearts 3. I think I was right, because unlike every other game in the series, almost all of Kingdom Hearts 3's boss battle music just consists of remixes of old boss battle themes. There are very few new boss battle songs, and what we get just is not at the standard I've come to expect from the series. Overall, Kingdom Hearts 3 has once again delivered a whole set of songs that I will be listening to for years to come, but in the end, I was still disappointed by the game's soundtrack. Everybody who has played a Kingdom Hearts game knows how amazing the combat can be. Your heart will be pounding, your fingers mashing your controller, sweat dripping down your face as you need to cautiously navigate a menu in the heat of combat, desperately trying to get a guard or dodge roll in as you stall for your magic to recover, as fierce and epic music surrounds you. You know what I'm talking about. This is the stuff we play Kingdom Hearts for. Kingdom Hearts 3 delivers us fights like that, but most of them are at the end of the game. The series is known as the sort of game that on low difficulties you can button mash, but on high difficulties you have to learn the intricacies of the combat system. I played on Kingdom Hearts 3's highest difficulty and only found myself struggling in a few fights. There was never a fight in which I felt I needed to stop button mashing. In fact, given how huge some bosses' health bars are, near the end of the game, I even found my thumb aching from how much I was mashing that X button. Kingdom Hearts 3 offers very little in terms of strategy, with very simple and easy to understand spells that are exclusively for dealing damage in a straightforward way. Gone are spells like Gravity, Stop, Magnet, and Reflect. The only time you will ever need spells is when you need to get some space between you and the enemy, and in those situations, there is almost zero reason to use any spell other than Thunder. The game does try to insert strategy into combat through two means, both of which I really enjoy. The first is the ability to switch Keyblades on the go during combat. This feels great. I love micromanaging stats. My strategy was to have one melee-oriented Keyblade, one magic-oriented Keyblade, and one balanced Keyblade at all times. I would generally stick to the balanced Keyblade. The Honey Spout was my choice for most of the game. But if I really needed to lean on Thunder, I would switch to a magic-oriented Keyblade, such as the one you get from Arendelle. And after using Cure, I would switch to a melee-oriented Keyblade while my magic bar regenerated. The other new combat feature is an evolution of the combat from a fragmentary passage, which was in turn inspired by finish commands from Birth by Sleep. If you hit enemies enough times, you will activate the ability to change your Keyblade into a completely different type of weapon at the press of a button. These new weapons were all interesting, other than the claws in second form, but my favorites had to be the Honey Pot guns from the Honey Spout, and the pole arm and flagstaff you get with the Keyblade from the Caribbean. What I really liked was that you can integrate these form changes into your combos. Especially late in the game, when fighting bosses, I would often wail on them with combos, and then just before the combo ends, I would activate a form change, which deals damage if you do it next to an enemy without putting you at risk of injury. This was a nice throwback to Kingdom Hearts 1's great strategy of using invincibility frames during special attacks to weather out particularly dangerous assaults. If there was one thing that Kingdom Hearts 3 did right, it was the ability to switch Keyblades and the ability to do form changes. Perfect. Reaction commands from Kingdom Hearts 2 are gone, and with them went a lot of the spectacle that happens during boss fights. I was sad to see reaction commands go, but there was a new feature that still got my blood pumping from sheer awe and joy. I'm not sure what they're called, but they are attacks that utilize rides from Disneyland and Disney World. I wasn't sure what to think of them at first, and early in the game they got a little on my nerves, but by late game I learned to appreciate them, and you could not make me smile more. These moves were big, dopey fun. I especially liked how Splash Ride would allow you to construct a Rapids ride that you could then actually ride with the finish command. Very cool. Sadly, like D-Links before them, this game's summons were pretty much unnecessary. I got a little use out of Ariel's summon, and I actually thought Stitch's summon was a lot of fun even though I only used it once. But honestly, the game could have not had these summons entirely, and I would not have noticed. Summons just aren't what they used to be from back in the Kingdom Hearts 1 days. Overall, Kingdom Hearts 3 has good and fun combat, but it is still a noticeable step down from previous combat in the series. There's still one more gripe I have about the combat in this game, but I will get to that later. Outside of combat has always been more hit or miss for the franchise. Every Kingdom Hearts game has struggled with how much or how little exploration to include. In many regards, I feel Kingdom Hearts 1 did out-of-combat gameplay the best, with secrets to discover, backtracking that got you meaningful items and upgrades, and levels that offered more than just a combat challenge. However, we all know that Kingdom Hearts 1's messy love affair with platforming was a failed endeavor, so the lack of platforming in later Kingdom Hearts games isn't necessarily a bad thing. Unfortunately, Square Enix's response to criticism of Kingdom Hearts 1's exploration was to streamline and linearize each world. Kingdom Hearts 2, for example, was full of linear corridors with nothing to do but run and slash, and Dream Drop Distance did not provide almost any reason to turn around and go back to where you had already been. Now, in the case of Kingdom Hearts 2, this actually worked out in the game's favor because it contributes to the laser-fast pacing of the game's movement, combat, and grinding, but I would still call it a flaw. Kingdom Hearts 3 has some novel ideas for how to move you around, but it is largely just more running and slashing through linear corridors that you will likely never go back to. Something Kingdom Hearts 3 does really well, though, are lucky emblems, which are really just the game's version of hidden Mickeys. Mickey Mouse symbols that are scattered in hard-to-find places throughout Disneyland's and Disney World's attractions. These are really fun to find, even if I missed a lot on my playthrough. It's just another fun touch that the game adds that help to make Kingdom Hearts 3 feel a lot like a visit to Disney World. There are also ingredients to collect in order to cook up foods with Remy from Ratatouille. This mechanic is much more poorly implemented. The end product is a lot like Final Fantasy XV's recipes, where you can put ingredients you find in the overworld together to make food that will give you temporary stat boosts. Just like in Final Fantasy XV, I saw no reason to use these stat boosts because the game already was quite easy. In fact, in Kingdom Hearts 3, I did not consume a single piece of food. I'm told that food is very helpful to level 1 runs, though, so maybe it has its place. My real issue with this mechanic is the way in which you cook the food. After you scourge the world for ingredients, you cannot look up if you can craft a new recipe unless you sit through a long loading screen to get to a separate menu that lists what food you can make, noticeably at a lower frame rate, which is weird. If you cannot make anything new, you have to sit through another long loading screen to get back to the game. If you can make something new, you better hope you have more than enough ingredients because you have to win a minigame in order to get the food you want. Otherwise, you will lose your ingredients with nothing to gain for it. These minigames are pretty easy, so I'm not going to be too harsh about this ridiculous requirement that you grind for ingredients with the risk of losing everything and have to start over again. But my problem is that you cannot practice these minigames. Once you get the hang of them, you will do them perfectly every single time. But until you figure out what you are supposed to do, every attempt will lead to a loss of sometimes rare ingredients. These minigames are very unforgiving, and you will immediately fail them after a single screw-up. And, by the way, they are timed. I love Ratatouille, so I was happy to see it integrated into the Kingdom Hearts universe, but I think the execution could have been much better. The next out-of-combat mechanic of note is the Gummy Ship. This is perhaps the best implementation of the Gummy Ship that the series has had, but I actually don't care much for the music, so I'm not crazy about it. I have little to say about this other than that if you enjoyed the Gummy Ship sequences from Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, you have something to look forward to. I completely forgot about Gummy Ship missions until after beating the game, so as I write this, I'm only now touching the tip of the iceberg of what the Gummy Ship gameplay has to offer. It's nothing special, but it doesn't hurt and can be enjoyable sometimes. For the sake of not having a review that is infinitely long, I'm gonna leave things at that. There are still other minigames this game has to offer. The classic Kingdom Game & Watch throwbacks, the Flan minigames, the pirate ship in the Caribbean, the difficult post-game battle arenas, and on and on. What I will say is that Kingdom Hearts 3 does a very good job at providing diversions from the main game if you need them. Kingdom Hearts 3 goes for quality over quantity with its worlds. We only visit a handful of worlds in this game, though I believe there are more worlds here than in Dream Drop Distance. But we spend extended amounts of time in them and really milk them for all they are worth. This time, there are no classic Disney worlds to explore. Hercules is actually the oldest movie that Kingdom Hearts 3 pulls from. I think that was a mistake, but I won't fault the game for it because you can't always fit everything in. I'm going to instead focus on what worlds we got, for better or for worse. The real highlights of this game come all too soon. I spent years, more than a decade even, dreaming about finally getting a version of Olympus Coliseum in which we can visit the mortal world and in which we can do battle with the lava and wind titans. The very first world in this game gave me exactly what I had been craving, even though I was a little disappointed to not be able to fight the Lava Titan one-on-one. Scaling Mount Olympus from its beautiful base to the stormy peak to the beautiful land of the gods was exactly what I wanted from a Hercules world, and was an amazing experience. Kingdom Hearts 3 really started with a bang, which is more than can be said for Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and Dream Drop Distance. Soon after Olympus, I visited Toy Box, which was almost perfect. I will get to its one flaw shortly. It was incredible being able to fight alongside Buzz and Woody. My inner child was going ballistic the entire time in the Toy Box. When I wasn't playing the game, I was smiling non-stop from dawn until bedtime, every day. Sadly though, those two worlds were the high point of the game. No other world in the game lived up to the standards set by Olympus and Toy Box, and so I spent the rest of the game wondering when I would finally find another world like those two. Monstropolis was actually pretty great, and I learned to like the Kingdom of Corona, but otherwise the rest of the worlds in this game were just okay. They weren't bad like Kingdom Hearts 2's Atlantica, they weren't infuriatingly dull like Birth by Sleep's Disney Town, but there was little about them that was memorable apart from the Caribbean weirdly having a whole miniature Assassin's Creed 4 built into it. One of the problems with this game's worlds was a lack of presence from the Disney characters. Kingdom Hearts 1 to this day is still the game that best integrated its Disney cast. Not only did every world have more or less an original story, but the game had an entire rogues gallery of Disney villains that you got to fight in epic battles. Unfortunately, like Dream Drop Distance, Disney villains are a rarity in Kingdom Hearts 3, and you only actually ever fight one of them, unless you count the Titans. One of the #1 things I was looking forward to in Kingdom Hearts 3 ever since Toy Box was revealed was the inevitable clash with the evil Emperor Zurg. It made perfect sense that Zurg would join the side of the villains. Perhaps he was swooned by young Xehanort's words, or perhaps he joined forces with Maleficent. Sadly, Zurg did not even show up. In fact, all the characters you meet at the start of Toy Box are the only characters you will ever meet in Toy Box. Zurg is completely absent from the game, which is especially dumb because the big boss of Toy Box was a flying saucer Heartless. Everything was perfectly set up for an Emperor Zurg fight, and we just didn't get it. Next, I was excited to fight Mother Gothel, and the game seemed to be doing a really good job of setting up that fight. But then when you actually get to when the fight should happen, Flynn kills Mother Gothel, and you simply fight her heartless. That set the tone for me for the rest of the game's worlds. Disney just does not want us to fight their villains anymore, and that is disappointing, because honestly, that is the whole point of Kingdom Hearts in the first place, to allow us to be put in the hero's shoes and do battle with Disney's excellent lineup of evil villains. The next world I was hoping to see was Castle Oblivion. Ventus was inside. Surely we would have to return to the castle and explore its deepest areas to find him. Sadly, I was let down again. The game's original worlds, not based on movies, are tiny and short. You don't even get to do anything in Castle Oblivion until it turns into the Land of Departure, in which you get to explore just a handful of rooms. The Keyblade Graveyard calls itself a labyrinth, but is extremely linear and impossible to get lost in. Twilight Town is a shell of its former self, and the two other new original worlds are just there to make for cool locations for cutscenes to take place in. In the end, Kingdom Hearts 3's worlds are not bad, they're not unlikable, but they are disappointing. Except the 100-Acre Wood. I want to spend some time just focusing on how awful this world is, and why it is, without a doubt, the worst world in any Kingdom Hearts game. After being completely absent in Birth by Sleep, and I believe Dream Drop Distance, the return of 100-Acre Wood was very exciting. Ever since we first visited the minigame-filled world in Kingdom Hearts 1, I've longed for Kingdom Hearts to give me a full Winnie the Pooh world with evil Heffalumps and Woozles and Heartless to fight. Kingdom Hearts 3 finally gave me a Heffalump, but it's just lumpy from the Heffalump movie. What's particularly disappointing about this is that it makes it particularly difficult to introduce evil Heffalumps later in the series, since now we have, in Kingdom Hearts canon, that there are good guy Heffalumps. That left a sour taste in my mouth, but the real disappointment with the 100 Acre Wood is how small it is. It's a single room, essentially, with almost nothing to do in it except play 3 minigames that are all almost completely identical and use cheap assets. On top of all that, Unreal Engine 4, again, churned out very cheap and off-putting looking Winnie the Pooh characters, and the story this time around was mind-numbingly dull and childish. This game managed to top Kingdom Hearts 2's Atlantica for the worst world the series has to offer. If I did not wind up getting one of my favorite Keyblades from this world, I would have said that this world is completely pointless and you would be better off just skipping it. For the story, we'll talk about the bad first, and then the good. Kingdom Hearts has always had a very Lovecraftian type of story to it. The villains you meet are always talking about lofty concepts well beyond your understanding, but completely within theirs. And everywhere you go and everything you do seems to be exactly as somebody else has planned, usually somebody you don't want to be happy. You are constantly pitted against villains who know everything, and, as famously said by Ansem in Kingdom Hearts 1, we know nothing. Most stories in Kingdom Hearts thus boil down to Sora, or whichever protagonist we are playing as, being played around with like a toy by the villains while they go about scheming and doing nasty things. Chain of Memories and Dream Drop Distance are the two best examples of this, but Kingdom Hearts 2 is another one where everything that you think is real just quite simply is not as it appears. This gives the series a rich tapestry of lore and mysteries to pull from in every game, and often, for everything that is answered, a new mystery about the universe opens up. The Kingdom Hearts series gets a bad rep for being convoluted and confusing, with some people using the dreaded phrase, bad writing. I strongly disagree with this widespread opinion, and up until Dream Drop Distance, I never found the series' story difficult to follow. If you play every game, most things make sense, and whatever doesn't make sense is presented as simply being beyond our capability to understand at the present time. Dream Drop Distance was the first crack in the series' story, being easy to follow and genuinely intriguing throughout, but having the poor decision to reintroduce time travel to the series and bafflingly state that Xehanort can just travel through time to reappear whenever he is defeated. This, coupled with the vague backstories for certain characters provided by Back Cover and the recent cell phone games, is the backdrop to which Kingdom Hearts 3 released. Unlike all previous Kingdom Hearts games, Kingdom Hearts 3 sets out to answer questions instead of asking them, and unfortunately Tetsuya Nomura is much better at asking questions than he is answering them. Kingdom Hearts 3, for the majority of the game, meanders around with its story not really doing anything but revealing real Organization 13 members, only to bizarrely later kick them out of the organization after they contribute nothing to it. I don't understand this decision. After Dream Drop Distance, a big question was on everybody's minds. What happened to the other organization members? What would their somebodies be like? Unfortunately, Kingdom Hearts 3 skips this interesting question, and just has members like Evan immediately rejoin the real organization. Marluxia, Larxene, Luxord, David Bowie, Saix, and Vexen all return to the real organization immediately after becoming somebodies again. With Marluxia and Larxene, whose somebodies were recently revealed in the cell phone games, this is a giant waste of our time. In the cell phone games, Marluxia's somebody Lorium is a shady individual who happens to be one of the new foretellers, which we see are basically the rulers of the world of life. The next time we see him, he is the traitorous 12th member of Organization 13 and Chain of Memories' final boss. Kingdom Hearts never gives us a glimpse of Lorium, nor does it ever explain why a traitor like Marluxia would ever join Xehanort's forces willingly. Late in the game, we learn that there's a traitor among the real Organization 13's ranks. Surely, it's Marluxia, right? Wrong! It's Vexen, who this very same game sets up initially as being so evil that he went straight back to Xemnas as soon as his somebody woke up. If the game weren't clearly putting all the previous final bosses together, I would say quite frankly that Marluxia should not have been in this game. An endlessly intriguing character in all of his other appearances, Marluxia is a complete and utter red herring in Kingdom Hearts 3. Other characters like Demix and Vexen, who are immediately set up as organization members only to turn traitor at the first moment, should have just stayed as somebodies to begin with. And please, do not get me started on Dark Riku. We will get to Shion. I give Kingdom Hearts 3's answer to who the real Organization 13 members are a D. The next question to answer is how Sora and the gang will save Aqua, Ventus, and Terra. I think everybody expected these 3 rescue missions to be spread out across the game, but you actually don't even start trying to save Aqua until after the final Disney World. Riku and Mickey are trying to find her the entire game, of course. That is a completely pointless side plot that only pads out the game. Our rescue of Aqua is genuinely cool though, and it feels really good to see her on Destiny Islands experiencing the world of light again for the first time in more than 10 years. Unfortunately, since this is already the end of the game, we go straight to Castle Oblivion, disappoint me by turning it into the Land of Departure, and then immediately save Ventus after a single fight. This is extremely rushed, and I don't understand why it had to be rushed, because this is very easily could have been placed 2/3 of the way through the game, maybe even just after Monstropolis if we rearrange the worlds a little. You barely have time to appreciate the return of Aqua before Ventus is back. Obviously, Aqua is the one who hid Ventus, so she would know exactly where he is. I would have liked the story then to give us some roadblock preventing us from getting there. Like, for example, Castle Oblivion, or perhaps another world entirely. Lastly, we have Terra. He is saved for the very last portion of the game, and I have no problems with that. His return feels earned, and I was really surprised to find out that he was Ansem's guardian Heartless. I give the search for Aqua, Ventus, and Terra a C+. Next up, we needed to learn how Roxas, Shion, and Naminé were getting back. I personally was very opposed to this plotline because I think part of the strength of Kingdom Hearts 2's opening and the ending of 358 over 2 days was that those characters were gone and were never coming back. But I guess Sora and Lee really wanted them to be alive, so whatever. Much of the first part of the game is devoted to figuring out how to bring Roxas back, and a lot of interesting lore from Coded is invoked. Ansem the Wise comes back and says he has a way to use Data Roxas and a replica to create a new body for Roxas. Unfortunately, this whole side plot is difficult to follow and poorly paced. By the time the end of the game comes and you've saved Aqua and Ventus, you've completely forgotten all about this side plot. But then, suddenly, out of nowhere, Shion, of all people, turns out to be part of the real Organization 13. This is a terrible plot point, and reeks of Tetsuya Nomura simply not knowing how to bring Shion back. There is no reason why Shion would ever be helping the real Organization 13. And then, out of nowhere, like a bolt of lightning, suddenly Roxas stands before us. We never saw him be put into a replica or anything. He's just there. And then, as soon as he shows up, Shion remembers that she was a good guy in Days and joins our side. This is completely awful. Sadly, it gets worse, because Naminé doesn't even come back until during the credits. This entire subplot did not need to be in the game. I will blame Dream Drop Distance for that. But worse, it was executed terribly and revealed that Nomura bit off more than he could chew in Dream Drop Distance. I give the revival of Roxas, Shion, and Naminé an F. The next subplot was Lee and Kairi's training. A lot of us, myself included, thought that maybe the game's tutorial would be the two of them learning to use Keyblades. Sadly, that was not the case at all. All we got were character building moments between Kairi and Lee. I really liked these moments, but it does not excuse the complete pointlessness of this side plot. To make matters worse, Lee almost immediately loses his Keyblade at the graveyard, and Kairi only gets to fight alongside you for a few seconds before she is kidnapped and later killed. This was a lot of build-up for nothing. I give Kairi and Lee's training subplot a D-. The main plot of most of the game is Sora searching for the power of waking. Many of us thought that this would be a small plot point and that most of the game would have Sora as the Keyblade master we all wanted him to be. Not so. He only gains the power of waking in a Deus Ex Machina moment near the end of the game after routinely forgetting that he even needed the power of waking for most of the game. I really liked that Sora failed his Mark of Mastery exam in Dream Drop Distance, but this was very poor payoff for that plot. I give Sora's search for the power of waking a D. The plot of the individual worlds was a mixed bag. On one hand, Toy Box and Monstropolis were both continually engaging, and I appreciated the original plotlines. Olympus and San Francisco were inoffensive and fun, even if they weren't very riveting. I found it extremely off-putting that Kingdom of Corona, Arendelle, and the Caribbean chose to simply follow the plot of their movies beat for beat. I was mildly okay with it in Kingdom of Corona, but it upset me in Arendelle, and especially the Caribbean, which might as well not have had Sora in it at all. I know the individual stories in Kingdom Hearts worlds have never been that great since Kingdom Hearts 2, but the Toy Box, Monstropolis, and San Francisco gave us a taste of that sweet Kingdom Hearts 1 style Disney World, so the bland stories in all the other worlds was a disappointment. I give the Disney World stories a C-. Second to last is the Master of Masters box. I'm glad it was included in this game, but it did not do Maleficent and Pete any favors, and just ultimately felt like more padding. It may as well not have been in this game. I really want to know what's in that box, though. I give the Master of Masters box hunt a D, because at least it gave us a cool post-credits cutscene. Finally, we have the end of the Xehanort saga. The Keyblade Graveyard in this game is very enjoyable because it is basically a gauntlet of challenging boss fights that have you slaying the 13 real organization members one by one, and then each one gets a cool little death scene where they explain their motivations. I will overlook the fact that not one of them actually died, and that Sora immediately forgave some of them even though they were terrible people who slaughtered millions. These death scenes were cool, and I liked them. You could tell that the developers put a lot of care and heart into each one. Marluxia's was particularly interesting because it sounds like he forgot he was a foreteller. Is Lauriam really as shady as we think? Or was the evil foreteller somebody else? Good stuff. Hearing the game try to make us sympathize with Ansem and Xemnas was really strange though. Ansem is supposed to be a mindless monster of a Heartless, and Xemnas is supposed to be a cold and calculating villain who wants nothing but power. I don't think we needed them to have sympathetic motivations. And we really didn't need Old Man Xehanort to have sympathetic motivations. He was the series' Emperor Palpatine, a conniving and wicked puppet master who does everything for his own gain. Birth by Sleep set him up strangely as an impartial scientist who just quote-unquote wants to know what will happen if he pits 13 evil beings against 7 good guys, but I struggle to buy it. This guy is evil and has caused an unspeakable number of atrocities in his pursuit of knowledge. Apparently, though, it was all to make the world a better place, just like Cyrus, Count Bleck, Lysandra, and Thanos before him. The game even tries to suggest that Master Xehanort has been redeemed, but he really wasn't. I think the closure of Xehanort's saga, which has been built up since Kingdom Hearts 1 first came out, and especially since Birth by Sleep came out, ended decently and was satisfying enough, but wasn't quite as good as Emperor Palpatine's similar quest for power from Star Wars. I give the closure of Xehanort's saga a B. So, the story in this game is not that great, but I did want to mention that for all its flaws, this game really puts its attention into character interactions. More than any other Kingdom Hearts game, the heroes in this story really feel like friends. They banter with each other like Luke and Han in the original Star Wars trilogy. They pick on each other, they crack inside jokes, and they have heart-to-heart conversations about their insecurities. There's a real standout moment when Sora sees all his friends die. He falls to the ground as a storm of Heartless surround him and cries. Riku, the only other person standing, tells Sora to get up and fight, but Sora laments that his friends are his power, which by extension means that if all of his friends are dead, he might as well be useless. This exchange, and Riku's subsequent pep talk, is really good stuff, and an interesting deconstruction of the magic of friendship. Another great moment is when Xion and Roxas are brought back. Yes, the way that they are brought back is terrible, but Xion always steals the show whenever she's on screen, and this was no different. While Roxas and Lee rejoice over finally being reunited, poor, insecure Xion just stands and utters a poor little whimper, clearly miserable over her actions and days, and her weird temporary team-up with the real Organization 13. Roxas and Lee, seeing this, come in and comfort her in a nice big hug. This game is full of really heartwarming moments, but that one really stuck with me. The last powerful character moment I want to mention is Woody's defiance of young Xehanort. We've never had a Disney character actually stand up to the series' big bads, apart from Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and, in this game, Yen Sid. I never would have expected Woody, of all people, to be the first to break that mold, but his response to young Xehanort's tauntings just before the world's boss is fantastic, and really turns Woody into a complete badass. So, overall, the plot of this game was a mess, but the character interactions were wonderful. It really took me back to Coded, whose plot was almost completely pointless, but somehow managed to have a wonderful characterization of Data Sora, as well as a great philosophical discussion about the emotions behind pain. A strange mixture of terrible writing and great writing, all at the same time. So, to bring it all together, Kingdom Hearts 3 was a fun and enjoyable experience and one worth playing for Kingdom Hearts fans. Perhaps more than any other Kingdom Hearts game, Kingdom Hearts 3 feels like a visit to Disney World, and at times it gave me that same sense of magic and pure joy. However, in a series full of masterpieces, Kingdom Hearts 3 just does not live up to the series' standards and will likely sit in the rest of the series' shadow for years to come. I think I would rate it either an 8 out of 10 or maybe a 9 out of 10, but that's stretching it a little, so I will say it gets an 8. I think it's better than the cell phone games, 358 over 2 days, and A Fragmentary Passage, but otherwise, all the other Kingdom Hearts games are much better. Kingdom Hearts 3 does a lot of things well, but unfortunately, does not do anything better than the other Kingdom Hearts games. That was my review of Kingdom Hearts 3. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts about it, please let me know in the comments down below. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and until next time.